Welcome into the Sports Buffoons podcast.
Welcome back in. Let's get it rolling once again here at the Sports Buffoons studios, going on over here in Overland Park, Kansas. This is your boy right here, Mike Settle, going along with Jason JG today. How's it going, my man?
Oh, it's going great. What are you guys doing out there today?
What are you doing out there today? Well, hopefully, it'd be Thursday, so if they're listening as they should be doing every Thursday morning, then they're probably on the way to work, or maybe they're at lunch, maybe they're after work. But once again, we are missing Tanner Dawson, just for the record, going forward. For one more time at least, maybe a couple more times. We'll see. We'll get him back in here when time comes. As I said before, he's doing a little family thing, so he's got that going on for himself. And we actually had a special guest appearance that we were supposed to have joining us here this week, and we will have that planned out eventually here down the road. Someone who works within a very well-known baseball organization, and basically we did a little contact tracing and put together some ideas as far as avoiding how this could not become a super spreader event here at the Sports Buffoon Studios, just to keep everyone safe and happy, especially with someone like Jason JG and Tanner, who also has family as well. So that is just something to keep in mind. We have that in the plans in the future going forward at least. And so as far as I know, no one's like truly sick by any means, so just give you guys a fair warning on that. But I was thinking about this while we discussed this for a minute, is about our plans for the podcast today and what it kind of turned into. And I started to think about, what are actually some of my favorite events from a pro athlete that have happened while they were sick? And there's been some great games in the past. If you guys know or not know, we got a couple favorites that came to mind. Walter Payton, for me, is my absolute favorite sick game of all time. And it happened in 1977, November 20th. Walter Payton set the NFL rushing record at the time of 278 yards on the ground. And one of the quotes he was talking about after the game was that he had hot and cold flashes on Wednesday and felt weak, and he didn't even think he was going to play. You're going to put your faith in God and he'll take care of you. I was hoping he would do so today, and he did. Walter Payton's well-known flu game stood all the way until the year 2000, when Corey Dillon of the Bengals ran for 278 yards against the Broncos, and since then it's been broken by Adrian Peterson, Jamal Lewis, and even Jerome Harrison did it against the Kansas City Chiefs at one point. I think he put up 286 in that game against the Chiefs, which is very pathetic. That happened back in 2009 when he was with the Browns. And so now at this point, we still have Adrian Peterson holding that record of 296 yards rushing. But I thought it was really special of him to, obviously be having the flu, feeling ill, feeling sick, yet still put up huge numbers in that regard. And Walter Payton is my favorite player of all time, besides Patrick Mahomes, of course. So Jason, who's your favorite sick game of all time, out of curiosity?
Yeah, well, first off, I gotta say, I absolutely love that game. Back in 1977, even though I wasn't actually born yet, I wish I could go back and watch that. I mean, Walter Payton, when I was growing up, that guy was a stud. But talking about 77, you gotta go 20 years later to talk about my favorite sick game. We're gonna go to 1997. And many of you out there know the story. It was Game 5 of the 1997 NBA Finals. The great MJ, Michael Jordan, they say that he was curled up in a fetal position and vomiting until the early hours of that morning before he had to play that game. And he helped guide the Chicago Bulls to a 90-88 win over the Utah Jazz in Game 5. Now, what did he do while he was sick? Oh, he only put up a mere 38 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, 1 block, and oh, by the way, he hit a three-pointer with less than a minute left in that game to give the Bulls the lead. So that would be my favorite sick game of all time.
Very nice. Yeah, of course, I knew you were going to do it with Jordan, you being a major Michael Jordan fan, as we both are, let's be honest. So that's a good selection in that case. So all the illness and down with the sickness talk aside, as Disturbed would say, let's go ahead and move on to the Chiefs and Broncos recap real quick, because I'm sure all of you enjoyed that game. It was a great, great time. I had a lot of fun watching it, even though the score was a little closer than maybe we thought it was going to be originally. The Chiefs ended up getting the victory at 22-16. They moved to 11-1, while the Broncos fall to 4-8. So one thing that stood out to me about the game in particular was the Tyreek Hill's playmaking ability. And obviously we've seen this before. It's nothing new by any means. But it was the fact that Tyreek Hill could have scored like 7 games in a row with a touchdown. He would be leading the NFL in touchdowns if 2 of those calls had stood. He had one play that was a 40-yard touchdown that he caught, but he didn't realize he even caught. And then the Chiefs run out there and punt the ball away. Like it seemed like 20 seconds later. It's like, hey, let's take a second to look at this. But even Tyreek Hill didn't realize he caught the ball. That was a 40-yard play. Then he had a 48-yard touchdown called back due to a holding penalty on Nick Allegretti, which I've reviewed a couple times, and maybe I'm biased, but I thought it was a pretty weak call by the officiating crew there. So if you put those things together, and if you had all those that counted, Hill has 8 catches, 146 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And so that then puts him again in the touchdown category, and then 4 games of over 100 yards receiving. And at this point right now, I believe he's 3rd in the NFL in receiving yards, which is super impressive. And then I think he's just behind, I believe, Devontae Adams in touchdowns at the moment. So anyways, I like that about him. What about the game stood out to you as far as the Broncos-Chiefs?
Well, just going back to Tyreek Hill for a second, I just have to say that was my favorite play of the entire game, was that 48-yard touchdown that was called back because of a holding penalty. The reason it was my favorite because he literally stood like right in front of the end zone, and then it did a backflip into the end zone with nobody even around him, and he stood there forever.
That's his new thing.
Yeah, and so I love that play. I love watching Tyreek Hill out there. Obviously, you got Travis Kelce with 8 catches, 136 yards, and a touchdown.
The best tight end in Chiefs history? That Travis Kelce?
Well, I'm talking about the Hall of Famer.
Oh, just
the future Hall of Famer, Travis Kelce.
Okay.
You know, there's a lot of years left to go on his career, but no, you're probably right. I mean, he will go down when it's all said and done as the greatest tight end in Chiefs history. 5 straight
1,000-yard receiving seasons for Kelce, and he's on pace to break George Kittle's 1,336 yards for the tight end record in one season for receiving yards.
Yeah, hopefully Kelce can pull that off. And then you got our MVP candidate, Patrick Mahomes, 318 yards and a touchdown. He is still far and away the leader in the league as far as that MVP race. I think Aaron Rodgers might have a little bit to say about that, but Mahomes is still the front runner. Then you got Le'Veon Bell. He had 11 carries for 40 yards, filling in for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And so, you know, that was nothing too special, but when I think about Le'Veon Bell, I still feel like even though he is not in his prime right now, a lot of these defenses, they look at this guy like, oh my gosh, that's Le'Veon Bell. And so they load up on him because I think defenses are still scared to try to stop Le'Veon Bell, even though he's not quite the player that he once was. But still, 11 carries for 40 yards, that's not bad. I thought the Denver defense, you know, they played well enough to keep the game close, which isn't bad considering they're only the 21st best scoring defense in the league. They're giving up 26 points per game, but they only gave up 22 points to the Chiefs. So that was a great job by the Denver defense to keep it close. And then you had Drew Lock, who had not really a good game at all, but we'll give him a break here as his first game back from COVID-19. And outside of that, I mean, we expected the Chiefs to win. They won the game. I know it was close, but, nothing too excited. I wasn't too excited about the game. It was close, but I'm glad the Chiefs pulled off the win.
Yeah, definitely. Are you a little surprised, though, that Casey didn't run a little bit better? And how much do you think Clyde matters for the Chiefs' offense? Because Bell is averaging a little under 4 yards a carry, which is also what he has averaged with the Jets. And so I've liked what Bell's addition's been to the team, but they plugged in Darrell Williams, and Darrell Williams had, I think, 6 attempts for 38 yards. And so Darrell Williams was making, getting the handoff, and he was making plays down the field for sure. He was getting through the secondary, where Bell is very, very patient. He's a guy who's a good chunk getter, I should say. Or, in my opinion, he's a good short yardage back. He's good at short yardage, but he's very, very patient, almost to a fault. Like, we used to talk about Priest Holmes being so patient behind that great offensive line the Chiefs had in 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, and the numbers he put up. and about the patience he had because the blockers were so great. And he had Tony Richardson there at fullback for him too. Where Bell, with this offensive line, which in my opinion is average at best in run blocking, he's almost too patient, and I think it allows linebackers to fit the gaps and make plays on him. But as a receiving back, I think he's phenomenal. I think he's one of the best hands receiving backs you can find in the league.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite thing about the fact that we have Le'Veon Bell on the team is like, when you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the lineup as your starter, Le'Veon Bell is going to be there to just give him a breather every once in a while and keep Clyde Edwards-Helaire fresh. But as far as Le'Veon Bell by himself, you got to understand, I mean, this is his first time since he was with the Steelers being on a good team. And I still think he's knocking off a little bit of the rust from all of his time with the Jets. I mean, it takes time to acclimate yourself to being on a contending team after you've been playing for the Jets for so long. I mean, let's be honest here, the Jets were absolute trash. And so now Le'Veon Bell is still kind of getting his feet wet a little bit. And when we get to the end of the season, I think you're going to see glimpses of the old Le'Veon Bell come back, especially when you get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm ready to use him in the playoffs for sure. But let's do keep in mind that this was our, I believe, first game without Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and it was also our lowest total points scored. Now, of course, we talked about Tyreek Hill's 2 plays coming back. The Chiefs easily could have scored 30 in this game if things had fallen the right way. It just ended up being a little tougher than we expected. So, hey, hats off to the Broncos for holding the Chiefs to 22 points. Good for them. I'm proud of them after being a 43-point victory for the Chiefs the time before. So, and also Tyrann Mathieu, 2 interceptions, 1 at the end of the game to seal the deal. He has now 5 total on the season. So it's good to see him coming around and making plays when we really need him. So all aside from the Broncos game, we're just glad to get a victory there. We kind of assumed we'd kind of take care of business in that regard, and we did. So we have a tougher matchup here, Jason, going up here this would be week 14. My goodness, we're coming down the stretch of the season. Chiefs and Dolphins. Dolphins are sitting at 8-4 on the season, and this is a team that's very interesting at the moment because they have a very, very good defense. They average 17.7 points allowed per game, which is second in the NFL, just barely behind the Steelers at the moment. And the Steelers are drifting away, I think, as time goes on with the losses of guys like Devin Bush that they had on their team and Bud Dupree, both lost to injuries. That defense will fade, and we're actually might be facing, in all honesty, the best points per game defense in the NFL. I got a couple other things to talk about with that, but I got to say one thing that kind of does worry me. The Chiefs' defense is actually surrendering red zone touchdowns at a rate of 75.8%, which is dead last in the NFL. And so we talk about the Chiefs' defense, which actually is ranked 6th in points per game right now. But in the red zone, they're giving up a lot of big plays. They're letting teams get into the end zone in that situation instead of holding them to field goals. And so we're going against the Miami Dolphins here this week with Tua Tagovailoa, and they got Myles Gaskin. They got a couple of players there that are really performing well. Tagovailoa has no interceptions yet on the season and 7 touchdowns. And so he's doing his job as a rookie, and he's playing very, very well, and he looks like the guy we all saw at Alabama. So what do you think about this game as far as anything that you're worried about in this game going forward? Because I actually think the Dolphins are going to present a big challenge to the Chiefs here.
Yeah, and I think your mindset is a lot like everybody else that's thinking about this game out there. I mean, you've got the number 2 overall defense in points per game, Miami, versus the Chiefs, who we said is number 6 in defense. And then you've got the number 2 offense in the Chiefs putting up 31 points a game against the number 16 offense, 25 points a game for Miami. Now, the Chiefs are favored. This is a -7 game, and I'm sure the normal tendency here would be to say, okay, there's no way the Chiefs are going to cover. But I look at the fact that the Chiefs are coming off their lowest scoring game of the season, only scored 22 points. And I don't see that happening again. I think the Chiefs' offense is going to wake up after only scoring 22 points last week. And I agree with you. They're facing Miami's defense, which should, in theory, slow them down a little bit. And like you said, no interceptions for Tua. I believe that streak is going to end. And so I do believe that he is going to throw at least 1 interception in this game. And I actually have the final score at 28-17. I do believe the Chiefs are going to cover. that 7-point spread. And I just don't think you can't hold this offense back 2 weeks in a row
Yeah,
to
it's gonna be big
22
plays.
points or less.
We're just a big play offense. We can strike at any moment. So it's going to be a thing where you can't hold them back. You can maybe contain them a little bit, but you can't fully stop the Chiefs' offense.
Yeah, and I just think this is a potential blow-up game for the Chiefs. I think you can only hold these guys down for so long.
The number people talk about as far as to beat the Chiefs is 27. So if you're the other team, the idea is if you can score 27, you give yourself a shot to beat the Chiefs. If you score anything less than 27, you will not win. That's the idea between every team right now in the NFL.
Yeah, and I just don't think that's going to happen for the Dolphins this week. I mean, I had the final score 28-17, and honestly, the Chiefs will probably score a little bit more than that. But I'm not giving the Dolphins defense as much credit as everybody else is. They're number 2 in the league right now, but eventually they're going to come back down to earth.
I will say about the Dolphins defense, I feel like they've been consistent throughout the year, though. And so it's not been a thing where they're hot and cold as far as defensively. They've been good. I do like their corner, Xavier Howard. He leads the NFL with 8 interceptions on the year. Even though we don't worry about Patrick Mahomes throwing interceptions too much, he's only got 2 on the season. And the Chiefs are, by the way, at the top end of the NFL, ranked number 1, tied number 1, to be honest, with 11 plus 11 in turnover ratios. So the Chiefs are not a team that turns the ball over. But going against that Dolphins defense, there's a chance that they could poke the ball out or make a play on Patrick Mahomes, get him to fumble, or throw a pick. He's human, I think. I think he is. Then, the Dolphins give themselves a shot.
Yeah, so you brought up Xavier Howard. I mean, what are we saying here? Do we think that he can slow down or shut down Tyreek Hill?
No. With the way the Chiefs scheme things and the way that Andy Reid is so creative, there's no way to actually shut down either Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce. Although the one team that can do it consistently when they choose to is the Patriots, because Bill Belichick has a way of doubling where he eliminates one big player on your offense and then he just forces you to beat you a different way. And so we've seen that with Travis Kelce in the past. I talked about that earlier on in the year about how the Patriots were going to double Kelce all game and shut him down, and honestly, they did. Chiefs ended up having to go other avenues and other ways to score points in that game. But as far as the Miami Dolphins go, I just don't think they're going to be that kind of team to where they're going to be able to lock in Tyreek Hill and the way he's been playing lately as well, because it's been pretty insane. His numbers last few weeks, if you put them over an entire 16-game season, it is literally the best season for an NFL receiver of all time. It beats everything Randy Moss has ever done, everything Calvin Johnson's ever done.
Better than the great Josh Gordon, even?
Better than the Josh Gordon for his 1 year heroics, I
Who's
suppose.
still in the league, by the way.
I don't know
he
how.
Is still
That's
in the
a
league.
thing. Somehow that's still a thing. I don't know why he's still in the league, because even though the teams are trying so hard ever since 2015 to get him back involved, it just doesn't work out.
He's still in the league because, just to be clear, he's still in the league because he didn't get drunk enough before.
So he doesn't need to get more drunk. Okay, I see what you're saying. Well, in that case, maybe we should do the same, because that'll keep us in the league and keep us on the podcast. So with all that said, I need to give my quick score, I guess real quick, for the Chiefs Dolphins. I'm a little concerned about this game. I think this could be a sneaky upset for the Dolphins. I'm being serious when I say that. And I see the Chiefs winning this game. For me, is going to be 28-24. Chiefs victory. So a little closer than what you thought.
Well, we both had the same exact number of points for the Chiefs,
yep.
And then I just had 17 for the Dolphins.
Yep. So we'll see how it all plays out. It's going to be a fun game. Chiefs have a couple fun games coming up, by the way. Dolphins and then Saints after that the week after. So stay tuned, Chiefs fans, and see how it all plays out. And, speaking of Josh Gordon and all his antics, I suppose, Jason, I want to talk to you for a minute about a little Mount Rushmore, because right now we are drinking a little bit of whiskey. I am having myself a mixture of 2 different things. I'm doing Wild Turkey 101, not 81. I said 101. We're going heavier or go home. With a little bit also of Jesse James bourbon as well, just because it's cheap, and I feel like being cheap on Wednesdays. And so, with that said, I wanted to talk to you about our favorite, should we say bourbons? Favorite whiskeys, our Mount Rushmore of whiskeys right now. Because we have a couple we want to not talk about that I'm sure all of you know about. And you guys can debate us as well if you'd like to. Hit us up somewhere on Twitter, @SportsBuffoons, and let us know that we're wrong. So, Jason, what is your Mount Rushmore whiskey?
All right, well, we're going to start from number 4, which is what I'm having right now. Actually, it's a variant of what I'm having right now. I'm having Crown Vanilla. But my number 4 on the Mount Rushmore of whiskey is going to be Crown Royal Black. And so, they've got a lot of variants out there. They got Crown Maple, Peach, Apple. Everybody's got their own favorite on that. But that's my number 4. Number 3, I've got Buffalo Trace, which is the best tasting cheap whiskey that I've ever had in my life. It's very affordable.
I mean, it's $27 typically at a store, something like that. So it's a decent price.
Yeah, very affordable.
For what you get, for sure.
Yeah, so then we go to number 2. I've got a lot of people's favorite, Maker's Mark. And number 1, I have, my personal favorite is the Woodford.
The Woodford Reserve, is that what you're talking about?
Woodford Reserve.
Okay, my list is actually sounds a lot like yours in that case, because I have, for me, I'm going to go opposite of what you just did. And I'm going to go Buffalo Trace is my absolute favorite, has been for a long time. And I've been drinking whiskey since I turned 21. I was a good boy, didn't drink until then. I'm a good, good Christian boy, that kind of deal. And so after that, I like Bullet Bourbon. Big fan of Bullet. I think they put out a good product. And you can get that one for around $22. And then Elijah Craig is also one of my favorites. Big fan of that one. They are similar in style to Buffalo Trace, but just not quite up to that level in my regard anyway. And then for me to finish it off, I like sometimes something just real simple. I'm a big fan of Crown as well. So we both had Crown as number 4 on our Mount Rushmore of all time. But there's different versions of Crown. So a lot of people have like Crown Peach and Crown Vanilla, and you said Crown Black. I like Crown, just normal Crown. I'm a fan of that one, the Canadian whiskey, little A. And so is there like one of those out of all that mix that you really hate? Because I like Crown Apple if I had to really pick one.
Yeah, I would say Crown Apple is probably my least favorite out of that mix. I've never tried the Crown Peach. I like regular Crown, Crown Black. I did want to point out one thing about Crown Maple, though. I hear a lot of differing opinions out there about Crown Maple. I absolutely love it. But the problem I had one time with Crown Maple is that I think I went through probably 2/3, let's just say 2/3 of a bottle one night. Mm-hmm. And I literally smelled like maple. My body smelled like maple for, I kid you not, 48 hours. 48
Did you go
freaking hours.
to the gym?
Couldn't get it out of my system.
Did you go to the gym and sweat it out?
I don't remember. It was probably like 7 years ago.
Because then people would walk into the gym and think there's a breakfast bar going on or something, because they'd be like, where's the pancakes?
Yeah, and then you want bacon and eggs and the whole spread and that sort of thing. But
they walk up to you on the treadmill, they're like, hey, what would you have for breakfast?
Yeah, so I don't know what they use as the ingredient to make you smell like that for 48 hours, but I absolutely love the taste of it, but just you gotta not drink too much of it or it'll make you smell like that for a long period of time. But speaking of things that we don't really like that much, I gotta throw out Knob Creek. Somebody told me one time, oh, you gotta try Knob Creek whiskey. And I tried it, and it was probably one of my least favorites of all time. It didn't really taste like whiskey to me. And so, anyway, we want to hear you guys' thoughts on that, because you can hit us up on Twitter @SportsBuffoons. Let me know what your favorite whiskey is out there, because those are our 2 Mount Rushmores and also our least favorite.
Yeah, and for me, my least favorite of all time is definitely Black Velvet. Like, it's one of those things you drink, like, if you're like 19 years old and you have no money at all or something, you could have like a couple sips. But like when I was 21 working at Target, I would get that every once in a while when I was making $8 an hour. And I don't know why I punished myself like that, because that was the worst whiskey I've ever had in my life. But I would buy it because it was like $8, and that was just like 1 hour worth of pay, I guess.
Yeah, Black Velvet, that sounds like a cheap whiskey. It sounds like something you might just have when you're wearing a cheap pair of velvet pants or something like that. Who knows? But that sounds awful, Mike.
That's pretty awful, but I'm going to crack open something real quick. No, it's not whiskey. It is a Monaco. We're getting wild up in here today, you guys. I'm trying to make up for the boys that aren't here, that should have been here today. No offense, you guys. I love you. So it's a Monaco Cranberry, which is my favorite sweet drinks, I suppose. It's like a mixed drink in a can. And so after that, now that we're done talking about a bunch of liquor, because we just sit over here like buffoons and talk about drinks and talk about sports and all that kind of good stuff, I need to know whether you're being real with me or not, because we have a segment coming up here. We want to talk about whether we think these teams coming up, going into the playoffs, and currently as it stands right now in the NFL, are real or are they fake? Because it's hard to tell with some of these teams, and there's certain ones I can tell you right now, this chick's trying to swerve you. Like, she is just manipulative. She's not trying to do the right things. She's trying to show you one day she loves you, the next day she hates you, and it's just not the right way to want to live your life. And so, with that said, I want to talk a little bit about how you feel about some teams like, let's start with the NFC first, because I can't entirely tell on the Seahawks what they think, but I have my opinion. Is this a good girl? Yes or no? Is it real or fake?
Well, let me just lay out my case here before I give the answer. So, you guys know me. It doesn't matter the sport. I like to bring up the defense first. So, the Seattle Seahawks defense, they're playing a little bit mediocre right now. So, they're giving up 27 points per game, which is worse than the Cincinnati Bengals. However, they're scoring 29 points per game, which is fourth in the league. Now, we got to look up their upcoming schedule. Now, they've got the Jets, the Washington football team, the Rams, and the 49ers. Now, to me, I think they're going to start playing a little bit better than they have been. There's no reason why they can't be 10-6. And I love the fact that they're battle tested because of the division that they play in. You still have Russell Wilson, who may or may not be still in the running for MVP, but he's still Russell Wilson. I'm going to say that Seahawks are real.
Seahawks are real, in your opinion. Okay. One thing that does scare me about the Seahawks for sure is that defense giving up the amount of points that they've given up at this point. That makes me a little weary of that. And the reason, also, I agree with you on that. The reason why, to me, they are also real is because of Russell Wilson. Because this is the team, it doesn't matter if they're 10-6 or even if they go 9-7 to finish the year. Let's just pretend for a minute. Once they're in, they could win and go all the way to the Super Bowl because they have the key piece. They have a franchise quarterback who knows how to win games, has done it before, has been there twice. And so having that in mind, it's like, okay, just get there and from then let your game play itself out. But the defense does worry me. To me, the Seahawks sitting at 8-4 right now, they're very real. I see them finishing around 11-5.
Yeah, the thing I want to do before we move on here is just I want to define real versus fake. When I'm talking about a real team, that is a team that if you're one of the other teams in the playoffs, you do not, under any circumstances, want to face that team. However, a fake team would be a team that you would be dying to play or that you're not really worried about. So that's how we're defining real and fake in this conversation.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. That's exactly what we were trying to talk about there. And the one after that, by the way, in their own division is actually very interesting in my opinion because their record sits at 6-6, but the Arizona Cardinals are a team with a lot of talent on offense. I like a lot of what they're doing. Kyler Murray is very similar in style of play as Russell Wilson. Hopkins is awesome. They've got some good playmakers over there for sure. And overall, I think that they're playing pretty well, and I think the record doesn't give them enough credit. So 6-6 to me is that. So the record to me is actually fake. The record is fake because they play in a good division, but I think the team itself is better than what they show on paper. And to me, this team is actually real.
Yeah, so you look at Arizona's defense, it's better than Seattle's. They're only giving up 24.5 points per game. The offense, not that far behind Seattle at 27.7 points per game. You got Kyler Murray, who is another questionable MVP candidate. And then you look at their upcoming schedule. They got the Giants, the Eagles, 49ers, and then they finish up at the Rams. I'm looking at their record right now. I do believe they should be at least 9-7, possibly 10-6 by the time this thing is said and done. And if they're 9-7, I mean, come on, guys, that's going to be a better record than the Vikings, who is the team that they need to be ahead of for that 7 spot in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with my official answer. Arizona is real.
We both agree so far on both Arizona and Seattle being real, which is very interesting to me. I think that Arizona is getting a little bit of a rough end of the stick on certain games, and I think that they're actually a good team that's a little undercover. Maybe they don't go very far this year in the playoffs, but they're legitimate. That's a good team. They're better than 6-6. So after that, I mean, we've got the NFC figured out. We know who's good, who's not, and all that. We understand who's going to be involved. Obviously the Packers, Saints, teams like that. Buccaneers, we both agree are real? Just real quick. I mean, we both think
Absolutely
those guys
real.
are real.
I mean, they have to be for me. They're my Super Bowl pick from the beginning of the year.
And we both agree the Buccaneers are real. So I think that with everything they got going on, they're going to be fine and involved. And as a team, like you said, you don't want to face in the playoffs once the time comes.
Yeah, one thing with Tampa Bay is that defense is just too good to not make some noise in the playoffs.
Yeah, and you have the best quarterback of all time currently.
Absolutely.
And so let's switch over to the AFC where we have a little bit more indecision, I believe, on how we think about things. And so let's go ahead and kick it off real quick with the team we just talked about, actually, the Miami Dolphins sitting at 8-4. This is a tough one for me, actually, because we did not see this happening. We did not see the Dolphins coming into this year being this good, going through a quarterback transition. I know Tanner Dawson, who's not here right now, was actually kind of mad about Fitzpatrick or being benched in favor of Tua Tagovailoa. And he goes, why is this happening? He was texting me, and I was like, it's their guy. They drafted Tua. They want to see what they have in him. And Tua's done everything right. They've won 7 of their last 8 games. And so the Dolphins are a team that are very interesting to watch because they have a good young quarterback who's so far taking care of the ball. They have a decent running game, great defense at the moment. So at 8-4, the Dolphins real to you?
They are real. They're real to me right now. But I have to explain that a little bit more. Right now, they're the second-ranked defense, 17.7 points per game. You got a mediocre offense. They're putting up 25 a game. They got a rookie quarterback. Now, I believe Tua is going to be a solid quarterback in the future. But let's be honest with ourselves here. Dolphins are not going to be a contender this year. They are real to me right now until I look at their upcoming schedule. They have the Chiefs, the Patriots, Raiders, and Bills. Now, right now, they're 8-4, and I have a bold prediction coming at you guys right now. They will finish the season 8-8. They will lose all 4 of those games, and I'm not going to put the blame on Tua or anything in particular, but when it's all said and done, they are a fake team, and they may not even make the playoffs.
I thought you said their Dolphins were real.
They're playing like a real team right now. But they're
so
fakers.
Manipulation.
They're fakers.
They got a bunch of makeup on.
Yeah, they're like
trying to
one
make
of
you
those.
interesting. Okay.
They're like one of those manipulative chicks that you were talking about earlier. Those manipulative women.
That happens every once in a while.
Definitely, none of those listen to this show, by the way.
Well, okay. Anyways, we have. So no, I agree with you about what you're saying though, because I looked at the Dolphins' schedule. I guess, like you said, Chiefs, Patriots, Raiders, Bills.
They're going to lose all 4.
That's
all
a
4
tough
of those
stretch.
games.
The one I give them 2 shots here. I give the Dolphins a shot to upset the Chiefs, as I said, but I don't think it's going to happen. But then here's the Patriots coming strong with 4 wins in a row. Now they're sitting at 6-6, and then the Raiders are the ultimate hot and cold girl, where you never know what you're going to get out of her. She's a wild psychopath, and so then after that you got the Bills, which I think the Bills should easily handle the Dolphins in that regard. So I think the Dolphins. So but here's the thing. Then my question: I didn't even put them on my list to ask you about this. But does that mean the Patriots are in? Are they a real team, or what's going on here? They're 6-6.
Now, Patriots are not a real team. I mean, I look at their body of work, and I still look at them as kind of a rebuilding year. I mean, on any given week, when you got Belichick as your coach, you can win a game on any given week. But I just don't see them making it to the playoffs. And even if they do, I mean, guys, you've seen the way they've been playing this year. If they somehow get in, I mean, they're not going to make any noise. So that's why we did not discuss the Patriots.
All right, now I have for you the ultimate manipulator that we need to be discussing right now. And this is the Cleveland Browns. Because some people could look at the Cleveland Browns and go, wow, they have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And, when Baker's not got his head up his ass, he's playing really well. And all that kind of deal. They're sitting currently at 9-3 on the season. This is something that we thought the Browns could do with Odell Beckham being healthy. He's not been healthy. He's been out for most of the year now at this point. And so sitting at that point still, somehow this team is still minus 15 in point differential. And so they're minus 15 in point differential, but 9-3, which does not make sense to me whatsoever, which, by the way, one of our other hot and cold girls, like I said, the Raiders, did defeat them 16-6 earlier on in the season. And the Browns are a team that gets demolished by the Steelers 38-7. But then they'll come back and they'll win ridiculous games. Like, they could have beat the Titans by more if they just played stronger at the end, because they had a big lead in the Titans. and they've been destroyed by the Ravens, 38-6 at one point. So the Browns are winning games, but they're winning them close, and when they get defeated, they're out. This is a team to me that is fake as hell.
Yeah, I mean, the Browns are definitely manipulating a lot of people, as we say. They're not going to manipulate me. They are a mediocre defense. They're giving up 27 points per game. They're putting up 25 a game on offense. You look at their upcoming schedule: Baltimore, the Giants, the Jets, and Pittsburgh. I mean, yeah, that's an easy road to make the playoffs. I have them finishing at 11-5. You know, if you're 11-5, you're going to make the playoffs. But my question is, what do these guys do well? I mean, we know that they run the ball well with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, but they don't do a particularly good job of stopping the run. But outside of the running game, I mean, yeah, I mean, Baker Mayfield, he's had a few good games here and there, but what's one thing that they really do well? I mean, besides their running game, I just don't see it. They're going to make it to the playoffs, but they're one of those teams that I would not be afraid of facing if I'm one of the other teams. So the Browns are fake to me.
Absolutely. I think it's a team that if they go to the playoffs, and then as they will, once they're there, they're a one and done, aka a pump and dump. And so, with that said, yeah, we both agree Browns are fake as hell. And the other team I wanted to talk about real quick, going back to back on that, like I said, was the Raiders. And this is a team that it's very debatable because this is a team that went and beat the Chiefs 40-32 a few weeks ago. And it's a team that has a tendency of being kind of bullies a little bit towards the Chiefs lately as far as their run game. But it's also a team that goes out, nearly loses to the Jets this past week, but then the week before loses to the Falcons 43-6. I don't get this team. It doesn't make sense to me at all. And by looking at their negative 24-point differential, I think that tells me the full story of what I need to know. That this team is not legitimate, even though they're 7-5. I think this is a team that is going nowhere, even if they make the playoffs.
All right, so you got the Raiders as a fake team, and I understand why. They're giving up 29 points per game on defense, which is terrible. However, on offense, they're 11th ranked team. They've got an upcoming schedule of the Colts, Chargers, Dolphins, and Broncos. I've said this from the beginning of the year. I believe in John Gruden. I believe in Derek Carr in that offense. And I believe that Jets game was a wake-up call. So we always talk about in sports, you want to peak at the right time. And so Raiders, they played a couple of crappy games. I think that they're going to ramp it up here, and I think they're going to step up their game as we approach the playoffs. And, honestly, when I look at the Raiders, the first thing I look at is the fact that they gave the Chiefs everything that they could handle in both of those games. And so if you beat the Chiefs, and, obviously they lost one of the games, but it was close, anybody that beats the Chiefs, they are real.
I'll give you one thing. I personally, even though I think the Raiders are fake, I do not want to see the Raiders again for the third time.
But that was the definition of real. If you don't want to see them again, then by definition, you think they're real.
If I'm the Chiefs, I don't want to see them again right now. I'm just not in the mood. They're turning me off a little bit because they're showing their dominance over the Chiefs a little bit. And I'm not saying dominance, but I'm saying their ability to be dominant over the Chiefs and control the clock. And Derek Carr was efficient in both games until the very end, of course, of the last game. And it's a team where it's like, okay, how do you go out to the Falcons and get demolished and then barely beat the Jets and then have the Buccaneers beat you 45-20, and yet the Chiefs are the team where you get a victory over the best team in the NFL? It's weird. And I know it's an AFC West thing, and that's part of the deal. That's why I also don't want to play against them. I just don't. But I don't really believe in them as a team. If they go to the playoffs and they play the Dolphins, I'm picking the Dolphins to win.
I just think when you look at those two Chiefs games, if these guys somehow get into the playoffs, they're going to look back on those two games, and that is going to take their confidence to the roof. I mean, if you play the Chiefs that well twice in the regular season, you're not going to be afraid of anybody. And that's one of the reasons why I think that when they played against the Jets and the Falcons, they didn't probably mentally take those two teams that seriously. And so when they're playing the better teams, I understand that they didn't play well against the Bucs, but they're going to look back on this if they make the playoffs and be like, okay, we beat the Chiefs. we don't care who we're going to play, bring it on. And so
Yeah.
that's why I have them as a real team. It's just kind of a mental factor there that I think they're going to have a lot of confidence going into the playoffs if they make it.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a few weeks left to go, and they got a tough schedule with the Colts and Dolphins coming up here in the next few weeks. So we'll see how that plays out as time goes on. And I got one more for you. The team we just saw play last night, as a matter of fact, beat the Baltimore Ravens, sitting now at 7-5. That's a team that's underperformed this year from what people thought, and it's a team who's lost some games that there was people surprised by. They've also beat some good teams. They beat the Colts, and they've gone down the road and they've beat the Texans easily. They beat the Browns easily. The Browns with a better record. Remember, I told you beat them 38-6 in that game. So even sitting at 7-5, they destroyed the Browns, who I said was a fake team, which makes more sense actually. But to me, the Ravens are actually a real team. I think this is a real team that you should watch out for. Am I worried about them? Not necessarily. But I think they're actually better than the record shows at 7-5. If this team ends up on the season at 10-6, 9-7, I'll say that they underperformed from what their expectation was, and that they're a little bit better than what that record shows.
Yeah, this is probably the toughest decision that I've had to make on this segment. And I'm looking at their third-ranked defense, 13th-ranked offense. Remember when they played the Chiefs in Week 3? They had the number 1 overall defense and the number 1 overall offense. What the heck happened to them since then? So, I mean, they kind of remind me of the Titans in a way, in that the fact they just want to run the ball. And I feel like the defenses know what these guys are up to, so they know what to gear up for. You got an upcoming schedule of the Browns, Jacksonville, the Giants, and then the Bengals. So obviously we know that they're going to finish most likely at least 10-6 in the league. But if I'm facing these guys, I mean, what did they do last year in the playoffs? They didn't do anything. If I'm facing these guys in the playoffs, I'm not afraid of them, so I'm going with fake on the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. I can actually see if for any reason the Browns and Ravens faced each other again, I could see the Browns actually getting a hold of them in some way and controlling that. Because with Kareem and Nick Chubb, it's one of those games where you want to get the lead early and then run the ball. And both teams being good run offenses, rush offenses, with your talent in that regard, then I think that it's an interesting dynamic. Where with the Chiefs, it's one of those things where it's like if we're down, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the score is. It doesn't matter at all. We have the best quarterback in the NFL. And so if we're down at all in any kind of game, or even if we just want to win by 20, we can do that too if we want to. So the Chiefs have more options to score quickly because we have more diversity in that regard, whether it's on the ground with Clyde or throwing to Tyreek. Sammy Watkins was back, by the way, and go from there.
Yeah, so I just wanted to throw one thing out there. We've been talking about the Browns a lot, and I've kind of got a little buffoonery question for you real quick, Mike. So if you could possibly make a trade and put Kareem Hunt back on the Chiefs, would you do it?
What's the trade? What's the offer?
Just whatever, just a fair deal. But, if you could get a fair deal.
We spent a third-round pick on him. Are you saying a third-round pick for Kareem Hunt to come back?
Sure, whatever you want. I mean, what would that offense look like at that point?
Right, and it is a shame that he's gone because it was a deal where I think we could have actually won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. If Kareem Hunt had been on the team still, I think things could have ended up a little bit differently in that playoff game against the Patriots in that regard. And then we would have ended up doing just fine in the Super Bowl at that point. But no, what I'll say is if you talk about a fair deal for Kareem Hunt, I'm telling you what we give up to get him in the draft, which was a third-round pick. Yes, let me do that deal right now, and let's add Kareem Hunt. You're saying with Clyde and Le'Veon Bell?
I want to view this from the standpoint, I've got this mentality kind of like LeBron James. I want to stack the deck. How would you feel if you had 3-star running backs on the same team?
Yeah, give me that deal. Give me that Kareem Hunt, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Le'Veon Bell. Throw it all at me right there. I mean, that's a guarantee. How do you stop that offense? Because Kareem Hunt is still legitimate. We've seen him play this year, and he looks phenomenal. Yeah. Now, I'm personally a big Nick Chubb fan. Nick Chubb, to me, is better than Kareem Hunt. That's because Nick Chubb has the yards per carry to prove it. Nick Chubb is consistently in over 5 yards per carry running back, where Kareem is just slightly below that.
Yeah, I wanted to throw that out there just to dream a little bit. We know it's not going to happen.
Right.
but it'd be kind of like the dream team of running backs.
Or how about this? How about this, Jason? Would you give up a third-round pick to not have D Ford on the Chiefs' defense in 2018?
Oh yeah, definitely for sure.
Take him off the defense in 2018, and you trade a third-round pick to get rid of him, and then he doesn't go off sides, and all of a sudden the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl.
I might give up a second-round pick for that.
Yeah, because we go ahead and we beat the Rams in that Super Bowl. We go ahead and take care of business in that regard. So then we're not looking at currently going for 2 in a row. We're looking at going for 3 in a row this year because that's what we'd be looking at.
I'd give up a second-round pick for that, no doubt.
That's the
second-round pick.
You're then looking at the ultimate dynasty with a young 25-year-old quarterback, by the way. So.
Yeah, it's a good thought. It's a good thought.
Of course. But anyways, we can all dream a little bit every once in a while. And Kareem Hunt, so I hope he's getting his head on his shoulders, by the way. I hope he's not going to be making mistakes, doing anything stupid, getting pulled over, anything in hotel rooms with women, things of that nature, because we do hope that as any normal human, he can get things figured out. And so far, he's done okay, I think, which is surprising because he's in his hometown, essentially. He's in Ohio. And so far, as far as I know, he's been keeping his head on his shoulders, I should say. All right, so I know we're missing Tanner Dawson today, and that's fine. But we have to still do our pick'ems of the week, just to get those settled in and out. And Tanner Dawson did have pick'ems. He sent me a text, as a matter of fact, about his pick'ems. I don't really know what I want to think about this whole thing because, I mean, he's not here with us to be able to tell us his pick'ems and his reasonings behind his pick'ems. So I'm just going to go like this. Rams, Chiefs, Texans, Cowboys, Cardinals, Vikings, Panthers, Titans, Colts, Seahawks, Packers, Satan's, Falcons. I said Satan's. Falcons, Washington, Bills, Browns. That's his teams. Otherwise, we're not going to sit there and elaborate with you guys about all of Tanner's picks because that's super silly while Jason and I are sitting here live in front of you for your show. So kick it all off. Let's go, boy. Let's go. Patriots versus Los Angeles Rams on Thursday, December 10th. And this is a great matchup. I love this. The Patriots have a lot to prove because they just won 4 in a row. But if they win this game, they're giving themselves a shot to make the playoffs. If they lose this game, they're out. And so, with that said, I'm going to go with the Patriots here to actually beat the Rams.
All right, that might be our first or second disagreement of the day, Mike. I've got the Rams winning this game. They're -6. I don't believe they're going to cover that spread. I just like the Rams defense, and I like the fact that Jared Goff finally pulled his head out of his ass. So I'm going to go with the Rams in this.
Yeah, it'll be a fun one to watch, and let's all check it out for sure. Then kicking off on Sunday, December 13th, at noon, we got the Houston Texans going against the Chicago Bears. The Bears are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook. No, not really. We all kind of knew at the beginning of the year they weren't going to be that good. And even though they were like 5-1 at the beginning of the year, something like that, and we're very surprised. To me, that's not a good team at all. Give me the Houston Texans. Give me Deshaun Watson to win that game.
Yeah, well, the Bears, they could still potentially be who we thought they were at the beginning of the year. I do have the Bears winning this game. I believe they're going to control the clock with David Montgomery. And Houston doesn't really impress me that much. So I'm going to go with the Bears in this.
All right, then we have Cowboys and Bengals. I don't even know what you guys want to do with this game. I'm not going to be watching this game. I'll promise you that. Tickets are right now sitting as low as $49 if you want to go. But I will go with the Cowboys here.
Yeah, that's a good pick there, Mike. They're -3.5. I actually have this as my easy money bet of the week because they're only -3.5. I've got the Cowboys winning and covering the game. You know why? Because it's an Andy Dalton revenge game.
All right, then we have, obviously we talked about already, Chiefs and Dolphins. We both agree Chiefs are going to get the victory here, so mark us down in the books as the Chiefs here. So moving forward with that, we have the Cardinals going at the New York Giants. I think I'm about to pick 5 road teams in a row. So give me the Cardinals here. That's 5 road teams in a row for me on this end. And so what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I've got Arizona winning the game. They are -2.5. They should be able to cover that spread pretty easily, guys. So if you guys want to make some bets on that, they're playing the Giants. So it's a get-right opportunity. after losing 3 straight games, and I think they're beat the Giants pretty easily.
All right, then we have the Minnesota Vikings, a team who I actually enjoy. They got a couple pieces on that team that are fun to watch. Potential budding superstar Justin Jefferson, a receiver, and he's replaced Stephon Diggs very, very well. Not to say Stephon Diggs is not doing well, because Stephon Diggs is on pace for exactly what I thought he was going to do in Buffalo. But Dalvin Cook as well, and putting up big numbers and leading the NFL, I believe, in like all running back statistics as far as anything total yardage goes. So yeah, give me the Buccaneers here though, because I believe in Tom Brady and Evans and Godwin and all those kind of guys.
Yeah, so as far as the Vikings go, there was a reason why we didn't bring them up in our real or fake segment. And that's because they're not very good. So I'm going to go with the Buccaneers here. They're -6.5. You got the league's best rush defense that will be able to slow down Dalvin Cook a little bit. I'll take the Bucs.
Yep, there's a good rush defense they have over there in Tampa Bay. So after that, we got the Denver Broncos going to the Carolina Panthers. And this is kind of an interesting one. It's not going to be super easy either way to pick this game. They're both very similar teams at the moment. But I will go with the Carolina Panthers in this one, but in a close game.
Yeah, very tough game to pick here. Carolina's coming off a bye. There's no way I'd pick them to cover that 4-point spread there. But I do have Carolina winning the game only because the Broncos are at a -10 turnover ratio in the last 4 games. So I don't trust Denver at all here. I'm going with the Panthers.
And Tennessee almost came back and defeated the Browns this past week. With the score getting out of control, they still managed to come back, only lose by 6 points. And we have the Titans going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we all know how I feel about the Jaguars at this point. It's a lost cause. Titans are a legitimately good team. I think we both agree on that. So give me the Titans for sure on this one.
Yeah, there's not much to say here. Tennessee's -7.5, and I think that's about right for them. I'll go with the Titans.
All right, then we have a tough one because this is a game of what I believe is a little bit of a good, like rational team going against the hot and cold Raiders. We have the Indianapolis Colts, who I believe in as a team to be a good team, and I hate it. They have had some injuries this year, but I think that what they're doing, especially defensively, is great. And they've made it a way where coaching-wise, everything's going well. Rivers is probably very, very happy sitting right now at this point because Rivers has got a winning record, and he's in a team who has a good defense, and he's also not getting sacked, 3 or 4 times a game every time. So Colts versus Raiders, tough toss-up game. I wish you had a coin right now. We could do a coin flip, but I'm going to go with the Colts, go with the better team, level-headed team.
Yeah, there's no need to flip a coin here. We've already talked about Las Vegas having their scare against the Jets, and it's time to prove themselves. And Indianapolis is a perfect team for the Raiders to step up and prove their worth. Now, an interesting stat here, Phillip Rivers lost both games last year against the Raiders when he was with the Chargers, and I've got the Raiders winning this game. They're going to turn it around. They're not gonna play as bad as they have the last couple of weeks, and this is their turnaround moment.
All right, then we have a quick one here, I think. Jets and Seahawks. We all know Seahawks, correct?
Yeah, you got Russell Wilson. He's trying to get back on track after losing to the Giants, so I'll go with the Seahawks here.
Yeah, let's go Seahawks. And then after that, we got the Packers and the Lions. This will be an interesting one, but I think Green Bay definitely pulls it out, and I trust Aaron Rodgers to get the victory here.
Yeah, Green Bay is -8 here, so I'm not going to bet on Green Bay to cover the spread just because it's a tough divisional matchup. And I think that the Lions are going to try to keep it close but not prevail. I'll go with the Packers.
All right, then we have the team the Chiefs will be facing not this weekend, but the weekend after, and it's a really good team. Now, they still do not have Drew Brees back. Brees is not back yet, ready to play. I think he will be back with the Chiefs, actually. But if not, I mean, we should see how things play out and see how things go and see if he returns. But we have the Saints going against the Philadelphia Eagles. And this will be an interesting matchup because it's at Philadelphia. And I continuously pick away teams, which is interesting because away teams shouldn't be winning this much. But just the way the schedule is unfolded, I'm going in with the away teams. Give me the Saints on this one. Give me some more Taysom Hill to continue to be a good player and help that team win.
Yeah, so the Saints are -7 here. I don't think they're going to cover that on the road, but honestly, here's an interesting stat here. The Saints have allowed 9 points per game in the 3 times that Taysom Hill has started. 9 points per game. So to me, that's an easy win. It might be a little bit closer game than you guys think, but the Saints are going to win no matter what.
That's a good defense. Well, I guess they moved on from Wentz at the moment, didn't they? Let's expect Jalen Hurts to be on the ground a few times, but then again, Hurts might actually be the savior. Hurts could actually give them a chance to win the game. But I got to go logical here. Got to go Saints. After that, we have the Atlanta Falcons at the Los Angeles Chargers. This would be a great team. These two teams are identical. Do you realize this, Jason? These are like the same team every year, year in, year out. And it's very frustrating because they're both teams with plenty of talent on both sides of the ball, but could never put it together. I think a lot of it's coaching. I think we're going to see both these coaches fired at the end of the year. And Eric Bieniemy could end up at one of these places, as a matter of fact, the Chiefs' offensive coordinator. So look for him to potentially be coming next year to a town near you. But I think that the Atlanta Falcons and Chargers are a great matchup because of their inconsistencies, and I see them both having a shootout. So I don't know what the over-under is, if you have that like you normally do, but for me, this is the over on this game for sure because it's going to be a wild one. And it sounds crazy to talk about teams like this that are under 500, but I'm being serious. Both these teams do this every year, and they always underachieve, and it's frustrating. But I'm going to go give me the Atlanta Falcons. I go away team again.
Well, you sounded a little bit unsure on that, and this is the reason why you were unsure. It's because I'm going with the Chargers. There's a little bit of human element here. The Chargers got embarrassed by New England, 45-0. This is a bounce-back game against an inconsistent Falcons team, and you got Justin Herbert over there. He's still trying to win that Rookie of the Year, that Offensive Rookie of the Year award. So I don't think he's going to get embarrassed again like that. He's got something to prove. I'll go with the Chargers.
All right. After that, we have the Washington football team at the San Fran 49ers, and this will be a good game. I love how Alex Smith helped the Washington football team go ahead and defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers, give them one loss on their record. So very happy with him. Alex played great. Did you see the bloody sock? Reminded me a little bit of the Boston Red Sox 15 years ago. But yeah, Alex Smith had another little leg injury. He's fine. He's going to be fine. It's not a big deal. But I'm going with the Washington football team here over San Fran.
Yeah, this could have easily been our coin flip game, although neither one of us brought a coin, unfortunately. I'm going to go with the Niners. This is going to be a close game. I'll just take the 49ers because they're at home.
And Sunday Night Football. Oh, we're going to have fun on Sunday night, aren't we? You know why? Because the Chiefs are going to be in first place in the AFC when all this is said and done. Because the Buffalo Bills are going to defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday Night Football in Buffalo. And that's going to be a wonderful night. We're with the one seed to go towards the playoffs that way.
All right, yeah, so you got Buffalo winning. Yeah, I mean, definitely the Bills are who we thought they were at the beginning of the year, so unlike the Bears. So Bills are 5-1 at home. Give me the Bills.
Yeah, I love it. That's going to be a great game to watch. And then you see the Pittsburgh kind of like slowly aren't they like fading slowly almost, it feels like? They're just getting by almost in that way. But
yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people, I mean, myself included, there just a lot of haters out there on Pittsburgh the whole year. And I told you guys on a previous episode, I was just never a big believer based on their schedule. And so now we're starting to figure out who these guys are, and they're not as good as we thought they were. And they had that weak schedule, and honestly, Buffalo. Once they lose to Buffalo, I mean, you know, they're gonna easily fall out of my top 5 in my power rankings. Probably out of my top 7.
Maybe Keyshawn Johnson was right.
Yeah, maybe
we talked about that last week.
What did he have him at? I forgot.
He had them ranked 8th.
He had him at 8th
last week.
Yeah. So I mean, absolutely.
And that was before the loss, by the way.
Yeah. He might be absolutely right.
After that, we got Monday Night Football, big game with the Ravens and Cleveland Browns. It's at Cleveland, by the way, so this is not going to be an easy game by any means. And they do have fans in the stands at Cleveland. So tickets right now for $117 if you want to go out to a game. But I think that this is going to be a really fun one to watch because I'm looking forward to both the Sunday night game as well as the Baltimore and Cleveland game. And this is not going to be easy whatsoever. But guess what? Give me the Ravens because you know why? As I said, the Ravens are real, the Browns are fake.
Well, I think they're both fakers, as I stated earlier. Baltimore is favored by 1, but at this point, Baltimore, if they want to make the playoffs, they have to win this game. And like I said, both of these teams are fake. I would not be afraid of them, either one of them, if I was facing them in the playoffs. But as far as this game is concerned, I have to go with the Ravens because they basically have to win this game.
Yeah, exactly. So we had a couple there we differentiated on, I guess, a little bit, but overall, I think we had a lot of similar opinions throughout our real and fake segment overall. But with that said, that is going to wrap up our show for today. Let's hope to get back with you guys again very, very soon. And we got to figure out when Tanner's going to come back and join us again. And we do plan on having a baseball coach to be involved with us once again, or at some point here as a special guest once we get through a little bit of their situation. So we will go from there as time comes. So some things to look forward to in that regard. Jason, anything else you want to talk about or say?
No, guys, just hit us up on Twitter. Let us know your thoughts. We like to interact with you guys. So I hope you guys are all staying safe out there during this pandemic that we're having. So just try to keep each other safe.
All right. Thank you guys very, very much for listening in. And with that said, I will see you all on the next one.